What's going on, everybody? We are back, episode number 20 of the Club and Sub podcast. We're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas. I think it's 11 today. I'm going to go over every fight on the card. As usual, I'm your host, John Stargarian, MMA, wearing the square hat from squaresandsharps.com. Go check them out. They have some great gambling merch. They give 1% of their profits to charity. Great website, great organization. With me today, we got Lags at Lags_the Capper, Luke at SWR_betting, and C, who you can find at CHanson10. Quinn will be on in a bit. He is on the way home from work right now. But yeah, we're going to get right into it. Big slate tonight, 14 fights. So we're going to just kind of skip the recaps here and just jump right in. First fight, we got Jeremiah Wells, late replacement for who's he replacing again against Baeza?
That was the
Garrett
we were just talking about him. Yeah, back to
No.
It's the
or no, that was back tick fight.
Damn, we were just talking about it. We were just talking about it before this too.
We have Rocky start to the pod. We have Miguel.
Miguel Baeza. That's what it was.
Yeah, so we got Miguel Baeza, Jeremiah Wells. I haven't put much work into this, to be honest. Haven't had a chance yet, so I'm going to skip here, Lags. Have you looked at it?
Nah, I'll be honest now.
Luke?
I haven't, but just looking at I've always been a big Miguel Baeza guy, but looking at like the line and like the short notice nature, usually I'm just like stay away. But I did notice that he was actually scheduled to fight on Friday. So the guy has been in a camp for a fight. So I'm definitely going to try to get to that later this week and see if there's any value. So yeah, I think that's a little interesting note though.
I think it's interesting the line staying about the same, that it hasn't really moved since the pullout of Gall.
Yeah, that is true. That is kind of weird. C, any thoughts here or no?
Yeah, no.
All right, lovely. So we move on. We got Tyson Nam. He's taking on Jerome Rivera. Nam was supposed to fight Matt Schnell last week. Luke and I were fortunate to get our bets pulled from that. And so we jump in here. Jerome Rivera, fresh from Contender Series. I don't think he was given a contract, if I recall correctly, the night he won on Contenders. So I guess just a late ad. But yeah,
it was like 4 days ago. I just saw on Instagram. It was 4 days ago. I think he got the contract.
Yeah. So Nam's minus 170 right now. Like, I don't know. It's a weird fight. Like, I do think Nam is the far more skilled fighter everywhere here. Like Rivera, obviously known for being a grappler. And, I don't know if he can get Nam down, but I'm pretty sure he can't hold him there. Nam, obviously more powerful, more finishing upside on the feet. I just, you'd think you'd play that. But, Luke and we all talked about it last week with Schnell. Like, Nam just doesn't throw enough to make me comfortable to lay juice with him. And the one thing I will say about Rivera is he is pretty busy. So, I can't hate on anybody for taking a stab at Nam here. I do think he's far more skilled, but it's a pass for me. But yeah, Nam's my pick. Legs, how about you?
Yeah, it's a pass for me. The lean would be Nam, but can't really trust him.
Yeah, agreed. Luke?
Yeah, haven't looked into this one yet either. I guess if the guy has any sort of volume potential, that's encouraging. But as you guys touched on, it looks like he's a bit more of a grappler. So not necessarily the guy I'd probably want to be backing against Tyson Nam. But who knows? We'll see maybe once I look into it a little bit more.
See, anything?
Yeah, no pass.
All right, moving right along here. Next fight, we got Derek Minner taking on TJ Laramie. C, I believe you have a play here, so I will go to you.
Yeah, I played the over, and then I just played some TJ around 3 sub. Yeah, I don't think TJ is really going to get finished just early on by someone who's kind of a round 1 sub or bust type guy. And just in general, I just kind of like TJ's game as a whole. He's pretty positionally sound. Honestly, for his age, he has a really, really high fight IQ. Just from what I've seen, when he fought Jourdain or whatever the fuck that kid's name is, he just instant wrestle. I just think, Minner kind of, the later the fight goes, the more likely he is to kind of just give up on himself. So round 3 sub, pretty good price. I think I got like 50-1. So yeah, I'm on that, and I'm on just TJ straight by sub. There's going to be quite a few submissions this week. They do happen to call me the submission whisperer, so
It is known.
Nice. It is known. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with most of what C said. I do think, Minner does have some first round upside. The guy, if you look at his tape, he does seem to put just about everybody in danger in the first round that he fights. He put Grant Dawson in danger, put Herbert Burns in danger, but Burns sucks, so I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I mostly ultimately come down to see here, though. Like, I think Laramie's very positionally sound. Like, even if he gets taken down, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to give his back right away. The line's pretty big to hit now. Maybe where it opened. But, I do like the sub play. And I think on FanDuel and Betfair right now, it's looking at about plus 850. And if you look at Minner, for all the submissions the guy has, he's been submitted a ton. Pretty much if he doesn't get a submission inside 3 minutes, he tends to quit. So, yeah, I'm going to probably take a stab at that. But, yeah, I think TJ rolls here. Lags, how about you?
Yeah, kind of similar thoughts here. I mean, I think kind of you guys touched on it with the early line movement. I think where line was a good spot to hit him, but kind of where it's sitting now, it's getting a little wide considering he just coming fresh off the Contender Series. Kind of crazy to lay this kind of chalk, I guess, but I don't know. I think he's for sure the right side, but I'm just passing.
Yeah, so I actually bet I took a small flyer on Minner against Dawson at a pretty big plus number. Honestly, got my Eddie Bravo hat on, but I'm still not convinced that he didn't tap in that fight. I think he actually might have phantom tapped there, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, I agree with you guys. I think TJ Laramie should roll here, but man, like you said, man, this Minner guy's tough. He's going to throw the kitchen sink at you right away, and you never know. Sometimes that might sink in, as you touched on. He's fought a couple pretty accomplished jiu-jitsu guys. He hasn't won, but he's put him in some tricky spots. And sometimes all it takes is, that small right angle and you can't get out. And pretty soon, you're out cold. So I do think TJ Laramie should roll here. But I mean, at this price, I guess I wouldn't really recommend laying it, even though, like I said, I think TJ probably rolls, as you guys touched on. He is pretty positionally sound. Just against a guy like Derek Minner, who's just like such a wild card. I guess I'm just really not trying to lay a ton of chalk on him. Yeah. I don't hate the overplay, but I think that will also be definitely a sweat in those early minutes as well. And it really comes down to when does Derek Minner quit too? Is it before that 7.5 minute mark or past that? Essentially, I think is really what it gets down to. So I'm not going to lie, it was a play that I was considering too, but I'm staying away. I think it's just kind of a dangerous fight from a betting perspective.
Or when does he give up a deep guillotine and attack a calf slicer? That's the That's
so actually, I'm looking at it right now on FanDuel. Minner sub round 1 is plus 1,700. If you like that.
That's not. I mean, honestly,
as a hedge, I mean, that's
probably the way to play Minner, to be honest. Like, you just sprinkle a little round 1 and maybe a little less round 2.
Round 2 plus 2,100.
Right. I mean, he's not going to beat TJ on the cards. I think the decision TJ is probably like 97%, to be honest with you. Not even kidding. So it's but yeah, I mean, it'll be a fun fight either way if you like grappling. We move on to Andre Newell and Erwin Rivera. I actually played Newell here, got him at minus 185. Even the line where it is now, like I wouldn't lay minus 240, but like I saw some people like tweeting like, oh, people are actually betting Andre Ewell at minus 210. It's like, you guys fucking watched Erwin Rivera fight? Like, I understand the grappling warts that Ewell has. Erwin Rivera is a punching bag. Okay. Like the guy basically, like, I think he's getting like points for not getting finished by Giga. Like that's really like what it feels like. No one's actually watching, the process or paying attention to the fact that he's at an 8-inch reach disadvantage here against the guy who, for all the shit Ewell gets, Ewell's a pretty sharp striker. He throws pretty straight punches. It's pretty high volume. He's been competitive with some really good fighters. And, while he can be a little shit on his back, he doesn't get like taken down that often. He's pretty good at circling out, and his first layer takedown defense is good. It's like guys that could chain takedowns, I'd be really worried about Ewell with. But Rivera is not that guy. And if you even look at the Giga fight, a fight where you would think he has to get this fight down, Rivera attempted 4 takedowns across 15 minutes in that fight. So it's like, ultimately, I think I think he's going to struggle to get Ewell down if he does at all. I think it's going to play out on the feet mostly, and I think Ewell's going to win just about every minute there. So I think Ewell should be about minus 300 in this spot, to be completely honest. I actually think his KO line, which I think is about plus 700 right now, is pretty intriguing because Rivera is just so hittable. But yeah, I think it's a great spot for Ewell. I played him at minus 185. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Lags, how about you?
Kind of similar thoughts to the last fight. Just like the early line movement. This wasn't one that I originally looked to bet, so I kind of missed out on the early line movement. Like you touched on, it was on FanDuel for like minus 180, minus 185 for such a long time. But yeah, I kind of similar thoughts to you, and I like Ewell in this spot, and I think he's going to be able to keep his standing, and he's got an huge 8-inch reach advantage like you touched on. So I think he kind of rolls in the spot. I think I was looking at it already. Ewell by decisions minus 115. It's not great, but
yeah,
it's not bad if you're looking to play Ewell. I think now. I think the money line now I would definitely stay off of.
Yeah, Luke, how about you?
So I largely agree in the sense that I think if you got in on that Ewell line early, I think you probably got some value around that minus 180 where the current line is. I don't really think there's any value there. And to make like a small bit of a case for Irwin Rivera, like if you go back to some of his regional fights and stuff, really where the guy's struggling is because guys are out grappling him. And so my big thing here is I'm not saying that this guy's like this massive wrestling threat or takedown artist necessarily. It might be one of the spots, and we kind of actually saw it as you touched on, John, in the Chikadze fight or whatever, where he only attempted 4 takedowns. Maybe that was just the case that he was happy that he finally got a guy to strike with him, which is kind of what also makes me nervous here against Ewell in terms of Rivera, is that maybe he just kind of obliges Ewell in that striking affair. But I mean, the guy does train at Hard Knocks 365. You know, he's got a lot of good guys to train with down there. I don't think his wrestling is terrible. I don't think it's like anything crazy to write home about. But my big thing is what we have seen from Andre Ewell and where he's consistently struggled has been with the takedowns. So, I mean, if in the chance that Rivera does come grapple heavy here, I'm not necessarily convinced Andre Ewell is going to necessarily justify his price, but that's a big if. I don't know what Rivera's game plan is going to be here. So, I mean, that's largely kind of why I stayed away. But I mean, I 100% agree that if this fight is standing, I think Ewell will pick him apart pretty bad. But I mean, if Irwin has any sort of fight IQ, I think he should try to grapple. And if he does have success, I think this fight does play a lot closer than the odds indicate. So it's just kind of one of those funky fights. But at minus 186, I definitely don't hate a bet there. Just kind of questioning how Irwin approaches the fight for me.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. And Rivera, I'd imagine, will be hungry because it's probably win or bust for him here. But we move on. Got a pretty good one here. We got Randy Costa, Journey Newson. Lags, did you make a play here?
I'm actually looking to make a play here. I'm actually looking into the under 1.5 here.
Interesting.
I kind of think there's going to be a ton of action here, and I'd really be surprised if this fight makes it out of the first round. I don't really rate Costa all that highly. I just kind of think he just blitzes in, wild attacks, and that's how he finds the KO. People are just overwhelmed with the pressure. But I think Newsom, he's able to counter him here, and I think the under 1.5 is a good spot at even money right now. But haven't made that a play yet, but definitely looking into it.
Luke, how about you?
Haven't looked into this one yet.
See, Journey Newson, Randy Costa. What do you got?
Newsom and Costa.
Before that, I think you guys were on Ewell. Yeah, I think Ewell.
Yeah, Ewell.
But Newson and Costa. Yeah, Costa, I think, is pretty reliant on a round 1 knockout. I will say that, like, Costa, he's like he sucks technically, but he probably does hit like relatively like hard. He's long. He can throw the. Honestly, my biggest worry is that like his head kick. I see Pilarte landed some on Newson.
And he's gone. Oh,
there he is.
See, I think you're on mute.
Similar.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. And moral of the story: if you're playing this, I'd play Costa round 1. But and play fucking Newson money line. But I personally have a little bit of Newson sub.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I actually just played this right before we came on. I got 2 units Newson minus 140. Yeah, I mean, pretty much what like you guys said. Like, Costa comes out like a firecracker. And it comes out pretty hot. But I don't think he does anything particularly well technically. Like, he seems like he hits pretty hard and he throws in good volume early. But his gas tank looks like it's shit. And, I know he's got a bunch of first-round finishes, but those 4 on the regional scene were against pretty much regional cans. And the one in the UFC was against the guy in Boston Salmon who's pretty much a regional can with no chin.
So get this, John. Opponents before the UFC, the records are 6-28.
Right. So like this is my point. Like, he does seem to hit hard, but he's remarkably hittable. He made Brandon Davis look like Demi and Maya in round 2 of their fight. And Newson, on the other hand, look, Newson's not very big for 135, and that's obviously kind of a long-term concern for his. But what he is pretty technical. Like, he's got good defense. He's probably a plus grappler or average. He doesn't get hit too much, and I think his striking's fine. And so, to be honest, I think his striking is being fine and being a plus grappler is probably more than enough for him to get the job done here. Like kind of what C said, I think if Costa can't get him out inside a round, like he's probably fucked here. And so, yeah, I'm on Newson, 2 units minus 140. And, if I might also play that subline as well, the plus 600 is kind of tempting, especially given what we saw in the Davis fight. But yeah, so that's going to be another fun fight. We move on. We need C on for this fight. We have Sarah Alpar against Jessica Rose Clark. Come back, C. This is play of the night. Luke, you look into this at all?
Honestly, I haven't looked into Alpar, so throw whatever I'm about to say out the window. Wait, did C play Jessica Rose Clark?
I think so. Here he is.
Yeah, he did.
All right, let him fly.
C, Jessica Rose Clark.
Oh, I hopped in on my fucking favorite fight of the night. Yeah, I played JRC pretty big. I'm on basically everything that I could get for her inside the distance and straight and a bunch of unders. Got a lot of subs for JRC. Honestly, I think this is a pretty big mismatch. Alpar was literally like maybe 2 days ago in her minivan dropping her kids off to soccer practice, and now she's coming in fucking like 227 pounds. She's gonna cut like 100 in like a day. But no, and actually no, just honestly, I just don't think her game's like very sound. She is, she moves forward, but JRC honestly on the feet, she's got pretty like decent tie. I just think she's kind of just better everywhere. She's probably a better grappler. She just, I'm not in love with her off her back, but I think she's definitely a better grappler. And Alpar, I've seen put herself in some shitty positions. So I just honestly think that JRC is going to tee off on her. Plus, JRC is looking thick as fuck. I don't know if you guys seen her Instagram, but she's looking fucking thick.
I have not.
Yeah, hop on there, dude. She's looking in the best shape I've ever seen her in.
I'll do it. I'll do it for you right now.
Honestly, and then please go look at the Alpar's Instagram because, like, you would be shocked at what you're looking at. But yeah, I think Rose Clark's gonna put it on her, man. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, so I've been looking into JRC. I've been thinking about making a play on her. Haven't really decided. She's up to minus 225 now, which sucks.
I was
guess
wrong account. I just realized that. Never mind. That was a Jessica Rose.
Like,
I just looked at that.
I was like, that's not that girl.
I just realized that. I'm like, man, but I was just looking at the account. Never mind. Carry on.
Alpar, like you said, she's heavy. She's unathletic. She's extremely hittable in space. JRC's better everywhere. I guess the reason I haven't played it yet is because my fear is despite her being fat and unathletic, she does a lot. Like, she throws a lot of punches. She attempts a lot of takedowns. And that, like, I don't know, in WMMA, that scares me. It scares me that potentially this ends up being a fight where JRC doesn't put her away and we get some stupid split decision where JRC clearly ended the better strikes, but judges don't know how to judge fights, and Alpar gets a takedown in the last minute of a round. I'm still, these fucking stupid props from Betfair just dropped. These stupid props from Betfair just dropped like 10 minutes before this freaking show went live. So I haven't really had a chance to go through them all yet, but I do have some. I do have some interest in JRC sub potentially, less so in minus 225. Lags, how about you?
Yeah, pretty much to sum it up, Luke, for Alpar, she has no striking. She'll come forward and she will just attempt a ton of takedowns, and then eventually gasses herself out.
Hey,
So
I love me some forward pressure in WMMA. You guys know all about that.
I know. So I kind of think what John was saying, I think this could be like a greasy split here. I think that she could attempt a lot of takedowns round 1, round 2, and then slowly slows down. And then, it just kind of gets even out and then goes to a decision. I don't really rate Alpar that highly at all. I don't think this is really a dog or pass. I don't really like Clark or laying this kind of chalk with her. So it's just a pass for me. But I think, I think the dog might have a little bit of value here, to be honest. So.
Luke, you went already, right? Or no?
Not really. I haven't looked into it, but quick controversial statement. I think Paige Van Zandt would have beat Jessica Rose Clark if she didn't break her arm in the first round.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Once again, I haven't taped it, but I think so low of Jessica Rose Clark from a skill set standpoint. But maybe this Alpar girl is truly a Brazilian soccer bomb where the minus 200 price is justified. I couldn't tell you. Once again, I haven't looked in it yet, but not looking at Jessica Rose Clark minus 200 just off the top. I'm just like, what? But I guess we'll see. Maybe my tune will change once I look at it, but I don't know.
Well, we move on to a fight you do have a bet on, Luke. We got David Dvorak, Jordan Espinosa. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so ultimately, I think that Jordan Espinosa is going to try to do Jordan Espinosa things, and I think he's going to try to sit on his bike for 15 minutes. And ultimately, I don't think David Dvorak is going to let him do that. I think he cuts off the cage well, and even in the points where guys have moved a lot, if I can make any sort of comparison to Jordan Espinosa, I've noticed he'll take like a 45-degree angle back, and then he'll kind of come forward back and then reset to try to stay in front of him. He's an aggressive guy. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw a lot of punches. And that's just really my big thing in betting against a guy like Jordan Espinosa is you can't let the guy sit there on his bike for 15 minutes, but you actually have to go back a little bit into some of his fights. I mean, the dude does actually have a traditional wrestling background. The dude's got some Darce chokes on his record. So, I mean, if he goes really wrestle heavy here, I guess maybe I'm eating my bet. But to be honest, I don't think Jordan Espinosa can do to David Dvorak essentially what he did to Mark De La Rosa, where Mark De La Rosa essentially made him look like a superstar because he followed him the whole time. I think that's really the big difference in this fight. I don't think David Dvorak is going to follow him. I think he's going to cut the cage off, and he's going to be throwing strikes going forward, which is going to optically look better in the eyes of the judges. Whether he finishes him or not, I don't know. But I do think David Dvorak does more. So I think at a pick'em price, I think I'm getting a lot of value, but I know you're going to strongly disagree with me, John.
Well, first we got C. So what do you got, C?
I mean, I like Dvorak in general, but after I looked at it a little bit more, honestly, I think the under 2.5 is a pretty decent play here. I've seen Dvorak kind of get wobbled a couple times, which is interesting. I don't know. I like Dvorak's game. I just originally I thought I was going to play Dvorak, and now I kind of feel like I'm leaning toward the under. I think a finish is kind of likely, but I don't have like super strong feelings about this.
Yeah, so I'm on Espinosa here for, I believe, a unit at plus 102, I think number is. I have to look. I don't have it in front of me. But pretty much, like, I actually like Dvorak. Like, I like guys that are going to come forward and throw in volume. I like what he does. But I don't think this is a great matchup for him. Like, Espinosa, if you look at him and the way he fights, like, he does a really great job of shutting down volume. And it's pretty much because of how he moves. Like, he moves laterally pretty much the entire fight. Like, he is the epitome of a stick-and-move fighter. And, like, I'm not sure Dvorak's going to be able to, like, he does that zombie pressure thing, and I'm just not sure it's going to work that well here. To me, a guy who's going to fight in the way Espinosa is pretty much kind of like kryptonite on the feet for Dvorak. Like, not that I think Espinosa should be, like, a big fave or anything, but I don't think Dvorak's going to be able to cut him off and force him into exchanges here very often. And if that's the case, I kind of think Espinosa has a chance to outpoint him. And also kind of the seize point, like we've seen Dvorak get wobbled a bit. And I actually think Espinosa, like if you go back to the contenders fight, he hits decently hard for a flyweight. You know, the real concern I have with him is, well, first of all, you know, those 2 losses to Perez and Chanel are just both so weird. And just, I mean, they scare me. And Dvorak's got some subs. So, like, him doing something stupid, like diving, you know, for a takedown and getting stuck in a guillotine or something stupid is not something I would rule out. But ultimately, like, I just kind of think Espinosa's got slightly higher finishing upside on the feet. And he also, you know, he's not a bad wrestler. Like, he's got, when he attempts takedowns, he's done a pretty good job of securing them. Like, I think he's got some grappling upside. So, yeah, like, I favor him on volume. I kind of favor his finishing upside. And like I said, I think he's got some grappling upside. Like, I sort of think Espinosa should be about 60% in this spot personally. So, yeah, I have a small play on him around evens. Kind of kicking myself. I waited till this week to tape it and didn't do it last week when the line was sitting plus 150. But is what it is. Lags, how about you?
I actually haven't taken this one, to be honest with you. So I'll probably get into that. And considering the line still pick them, you know, maybe I'll have some action. But I'll probably just
all
pass
right.
it, to be
well,
honest.
have you taped the next one, which is Mayra Bueno Silva, Mara Romero Varella?
I'm going to take C's line here and pass.
I have. And once again, you guys know I love my WMMA, so I have not
Give it a
moved in.
minute.
I have not moved in on a play here yet. Definitely don't like a side. I think kind of the line is right around where it should be, but I think a really sneaky good play here is the under 2.5 potentially, right around evens. My big reasoning is Bueno Silva is still pretty defensively flawed on the feet. I'm not saying that Varella is going to knock her out, but one of the times we have seen Bueno Silva taken down, it was via a body lock trip, which happens to also be Mara Romero Barella's best takedown and probably one of her only good attributes about her game, if I'm being honest. So with that being said, and if Varella gets takedowns, I think a guard sub from Bueno Silva is very live if she gets back to her feet. I mean, the girl cracks. I think her striking and her overall game is still very green. But I mean, if you go back and even watch the 3rd round of that Marina Moroz fight, like if you put another 2 minutes on that fight, I think she probably finishes Marina Moroz. Her leg was beat up bad. She was landing big shots. She kind of had a little bit of a lull period in that 2nd round where she slowed a little bit, but it seems like she caught her 3rd win and was just throwing some serious heat. I know Varella hasn't been knocked out in like 6 years or so, but if go back and watch some of the times Barella's been knocked out, they've been pretty nasty, to be honest. But ultimately, Varella has essentially no striking defense, and this girl's going to come in here and throw some heat. So, but at the same time, I don't think a Varella sub is necessarily out of the question. I don't think it's overtly high percentage, but I also do see Bueno Silva make some small mistakes, especially in that 2nd round when she was getting tired. She wasn't really moving her hips very much against Moroz. Moroz was able to posture, land some good strikes, so maybe Varella is able to get into some dominant positions, get some funky stuff. But largely, I think a finish probably comes from Bueno Silva. Ultimately, it's another one of these WMMA scenarios where I see 2 girls who are going to spam volume, who are defensively flawed on the feet, who are relatively defensively flawed in the ground, and 1 girl who I think has a very distinct path to finish. So around evens, I'm very close to jumping on that.
See, how about you? See? All right.
I honestly haven't looked into this one, so
That's probably smart. I wouldn't look into it.
Real quick note in the chat, Hollywood just brought up, yes, she did. She did get TKO'd by Lauren Murphy with like a minute left. But prior to that, she hadn't been KO'd since like 2015. But good call, Hollywood.
And she got dropped pretty bad by Montana De La Rosa, I believe, in round 3 of that fight. I looked into it a little bit. Kind of was looking maybe to play Varella, but ultimately I don't really think she can compete on the feet much here. I mean, maybe she can compete on the numbers, but I sort of think, you know, her durability, she's one of the only women who is like insanely fragile in the UFC, but she certainly is, and that's a concern. And then it's like you look at Barella's wrestling upside, and it's just like like if I bet her, I'm gonna have nightmares or PTSD flashbacks for 15 minutes of the Courtney Casey fight, like the entire time. And I bet Casey, but her jiu-jitsu is so sloppy on top. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. So, like, I don't know. Buenasoba should be favored. Line's probably about right. I have it works against everybody though. Magic the body lock, it does. But I just don't really have. I have to again. I would have loved to have looked at the props any time in the last week, but the NFL being back is really killing us here. So now that I'll put something on Twitter maybe about it. But maybe sub for Buenasoba might be interesting. Like Miller said, TKO plus 900. It's not bad. But yeah, we move on. Hopefully, C gets back in there because I think he has a play here. But I'll start with you, Luke. It's your boy, Kevin Holland, Darren Stewart. What do you got?
Yeah, haven't moved in on this one yet. It's another one I got to a little bit late, and the lines kind of slowly creep on Holland. And I kind of have a feeling it's just going to continue to climb, unfortunately. But I put him kind of around that minus 300, minus 400 mark. So minus 233 was kind of my bet consideration number here for him. And I'd probably be making like a 2 to 3 unit play, probably nothing higher than that. It's just kind of one of those Kevin Holland type scenarios where I think he probably should take his best path to victory, as I talked about, even in the guy he fought in his last fight. Granted, I know he ended up lighting him up and knocking him out, but I still think it probably would have been a quote unquote easier fight for him if he just wrestled. And I feel kind of the same way here, where we all know what Darren Stewart's biggest issue is in that he really struggles in his wrestling and grappling. He gets stuck on the fence or he gets held down. And I think Kevin Holland actually has the wrestling and jiu-jitsu ability to do that to him if he wants.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that he's going to want to do that. And so if he stands and strikes with Darren Stewart, all right, well, now it potentially could be a closer fight. I do think, though, even if it is standing for 15 minutes, I do think from what we've even seen from Kevin Holland on the feet, even in that last fight, like that Buckley guy was throwing some heat at him. He was bobbing and weaving. He was blocking everything. Like his movement patterns were just completely on point. So I think he can do the same here to Stewart, but it's one of those situations, man, where I feel like kind of playing that dangerous game is going to catch up with you at some point. If that's this spot, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I think this fight's a little bit more scary for Kevin Holland than I thought. Once again, I think he probably does roll. It's just one of those scenarios where, the better guy doesn't always win. And if you're not going to take the path of least resistance, it's going to catch up with you some point. So I do think Kevin Holland actually just outpoints Darren Stewart over the course of 15 minutes. But at current price, I see no value.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. I almost played him earlier in the week, but I hate playing big juice faves as it is, and Kevin Holland. And so I'm not going to play him here, but I actually do think there's probably value on the money line, to be honest. I don't know. I thought for a while Stewart was pretty good. And I'm starting to not think that anymore, to be honest. It's, his volume just isn't there. Maki was hitting him clean over and over. You're going to have the typical Kevin Holland massive reach, massive height advantage thing going here. He actually looks like his striking's developing a bit on the feet. Like he's not getting him stuck in awkward positions as much. He's using his length a little bit better than he had in the past. And it actually seems like his power might be starting to develop a bit more than it had been there previously. So yeah, I think Holland's going to absolutely wipe him out on minutes. I guess Stewart could knock him out, but even that, I've seen people say Stewart has massive power, but it's look at his time in the UFC. He's got 10, 11 fights. He's got 1 KO. He doesn't really have many knockdowns. So I'm not sure I really buy that either. And I just don't think the aggression is there for him to kind of, force that win condition out a little bit more often. So I kind of think Holland's minus should be minus 400. But again, I'm still kind of scarred from Kevin Holland doing Kevin Holland things against Brendan Allen and several other fights earlier in his career. So I'm staying away, but I truthfully don't hate a bet on it. Legs, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to what you guys said. And even Tajik Bey, I think, touched on it in the chat. I'm done doubting Kevin Holland, but I'm not betting him in this spot. I think this is too wide of a line at where it's at right now. And like you touched on that, I think Stewart's pretty much just a KO or bust in this spot, I think. But if Kevin Holland doesn't take the least path of resistance here, I think this is going to be a lot closer than odds indicate. But like, I think Holland kind of rolls to a decision here. I think Akeo could be live on the feet. And like you touched on, I think if he takes him down, I think it's very well possible that he can get the back and get the choke there. So I think Kevin Holland could win this fight anywhere he wants to. It's just how he approaches it, to be honest.
I wouldn't say I'm done doubting Holland, but I will say it does seem like in his last couple fights, he's starting to like go to what could actually work for him. Like he's improving his process, like he's using his length, and he's being a bit more aggressive even while he's fucking around. It's less fucking around and talking to the crowd.
I guess that's my thing. Like I'm done doubting him, but it's like I'm not buying into the whole. It's a smart Kevin Holland now. I still think he has those bad IQ tendencies. So
yes.
So yeah, it's a pass for me. I think Holland. I think the Holland money line. I honestly think it is a good play. I think it's fine to parlay, to be honest, but I'll probably just be staying away from him.
It's pretty much what I think. That's pretty much what I think. And we move on to the people's main event. We got Randa Marcos. We got Mackenzie Dern. It's going to be a good one.
The WMMA whisperer. What do you got?
Luke, give it to us.
Yeah, so originally I don't want to say I flip-flopped on it. At least I guess I should say pre-tape I was flip-flopping on it. And then I went back and watched tape and I was like, I have to play Randa Marcos here. Like I like out of principle, I have to play Randa Marcos at near 40% indication. I put a unit on her at plus 145. Didn't get the best of it per se, but I still think there is a tremendous amount of value on the current line. It's just another one of these fights where it's like it's determining how often does the opposing fighter meet their win condition. Because honestly, is Mackenzie Dern going to knock out Randa Marcos? I highly doubt it. Is she going to outwork Randa Marcos over 15 minutes? Highly doubt it. I mean, there's maybe a low percentage greasy split in there, but once again, I don't see that overtly likely. Her win condition is a sub here, and we've talked about this multiple times. Her wrestling doesn't really or hasn't really seemed to have improved at all. She just kind of bulls in and uses her muscle to take girls down. Like she's hit a couple nice throws here and there, but largely her takedowns are not technical in any way, shape, or form. So my big thing with Randa Marcos is here, I think she can keep this standing. And even in those like gritty forward exchanges that Dern comes forward with, like she just largely only has an overhand right, but those like gritty exchanges, I think those are situations where Randa Marcos like really thrives in actually. And in those like gritty type of fights, I think she does well. There's just points in those fights where she has mental lapses and ultimately loses. And real quick, I was listening to an interview with her and James Lynch like yesterday or so. And I've always had this thing about Randa Marcos is like, I don't think her skill set overall is that bad. I'm not saying she's a girl who's going to go out here and win a world championship, but I'm like, girl's 10-8. I feel like her record should be a lot better than that. We've been watching Randa Marcos fights over the years. And I'm like, so why is her record this way? And I always just have had this like sneaking suspicion that it's a mental thing with her. And then I went and watched this interview the other day and he asked her about, this whole win-loss thing. It's like, he's like, what's the deal with that? And she's like, well, after I'm coming off a loss or whatever, I feel like I got nothing to lose or whatever. My confidence is actually at like essentially an all-time high. And I just feel a lot looser. And then when she's coming off a win, she feels like she has so many more nerves and she's got so much more to prove. So, I mean, she's audibly pretty much said, not verbatim, but paraphrasing, that she struggles with the mental part of the game. So not to play narrative here, but, she's due for a W. She's due for a W right here. And if she has, she has the tools to win this fight. She really does. She just can't make small mistakes. And even if this fight does hit the ground, I don't think Randa Marcos is like insta sub by any means. She definitely could get so. I'm not saying it's out of the question. It actually is somewhat probable, but I also do think she does have the jiu-jitsu ability to at least defend and try to work back to her feet. She's just got to fight smart, fight with angles, fight long, and not make those small mental lapses. And I think Randa Marcos could honestly look minus 300 here. It's just if those small mental mistakes come, Mackenzie Dern's a girl who's going to make you pay. So a small play at plus 145, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, so I pretty much know how this fight's going to go. It's going to be 7.5 minutes of Randa seeming like absolutely massive value, followed by a random clinch where she goes for a head and arm throw, Mackenzie putting in 2 hooks on her back and submitting her. All of that said, I'm on Marcos as well. I personally think like I did a pretty deep tape on Dern here for this just because, I kind of wanted to see, did we see any real improvements to her striking? It's kind of hard to remember that off the top of your head from, obviously when she went out of her pregnancy to coming back to Ribas to Cyphers. And the answer is pretty definitively no. She seems to have heavy-ish hands, but she's remarkably hittable. She doesn't really seem to have much technique at all. And if you actually look at their two fights against Ribas side by side, Ribas obviously beat them both at distance, but Marcos at least kind of seemed to have a clue as to what to do and how to strike with her. Like she wasn't just completely dusted at distance, whereas Dern just seemed like some random black belt just put on 4-ounce gloves the first time and got in the octagon with her. And so it's like, yeah, I think Marcos, she probably doesn't hit as hard, but I think she's got a pretty clear edge on the feet. And in the grappling, it's like Dern's wrestling is so bad. Like she's got a 7% takedown accuracy. Look at her fight with Cyphers. She basically couldn't get Cyphers to the ground. The only reason
everybody gets her to there. Everybody gets Hannah Cyphers to the ground. So
the only reason she subbed Cyphers is because Cyphers went back into her guard when she tried to pull a guard when she got out. But like I remember watching that, and it's like it seems like she made absolutely no improvements in her takedown game either. And it's like in the clinch, maybe she can force the clinch, but I actually ran his clinch game is pretty strong. Now that could force her to do something stupid, but I don't like. I said to you guys before we went live, smart Marcos is like 65% here. I think when you factor in that she's an idiot, it drops a bit to probably about like 50%ish around there. But I just can't not play her in the spot, to be honest. And so I played her at 162 for a unit, and then today when I saw the decision line was plus 260, I got in on that for unit 2. That's I think still available at Bet for FanDuel, guys, for anybody who's got access to that. Lex, how about you?
Yeah, I don't hate to play here, guys. Honestly, the only reason I'm really not jumping on the Marcos train is I just don't think she does enough on the feet. She just doesn't step on the gas enough for me later in the fight. So I think it's ultimately it could come down to a close decision, but I ultimately think that it is either a Dern sub or a Marcos decision. I think so. I don't hate to play at all, to be honest with you. I don't really like Dern's wrestling like we touched on. I mean, it's pretty obvious. So yeah, Marcos is the value side for sure here.
One more real quick thing too, John. I've heard a lot of people on Twitter saying that, now Dern's working with Jason Perillo, or now she's going to be this world-class striker. If you guys actually did a little bit of research, you'd know that her husband got in a fight with some dude at Black House or whatever, and so she essentially left. She's been working with Jason Perillo for 2 weeks, guys. She's not turning into some world-class striker over 2 weeks. Long term though, I think that's good for her. He's one of the better striking coaches in the game, but let's pump the brakes here with this whole Jason Perillo narrative. Like two weeks is not gonna do something.
When did she fight Cyphers? 2 months ago?
Around there, probably.
Let me find that for you.
Like it's not like we're talking about she's had 6-7 months off and it's gonna massively.
It was May 30th.
Okay, so a little longer than that. But either way, it's not the kind of time where I'd expect her to massively level up. So we move on to another really solid fight here. I think C had a play here. I hope he didn't get pulled over. I thought I heard him say "oh fuck" right before he pulled his camera off screen.
I didn't hear that.
So, so it's possible that he's getting a ticket right now. Hopefully not. But we got Johnny Walker taking on Ryan Spann right now. Lags, you got any thoughts here?
This is a huge meme of a fight, to be honest with you. And Johnny Walker's kind of been my boy. I've been a huge fan of him, but I mean, these last 2 fights have been absolute clown performances from him, to be honest. And I mean, we kind of show his huge weakness is the grappling. So I think while Spann has the grappling advantages here, I don't really rate his wrestling too highly as the fight goes on. So I was honestly, before the cross even came out, I was like, man, Walker round 1 KO. I'm probably going to look into it if it's any decent number. And it's like plus 260 right now, plus 270. It's not bad, but I really think Walker puts him away early. I'm not really too high on Ryan Spann. I think that Sam Alvey fight was a really telling sign. And he was minus 400 in that spot. And if you're minus 400 in that spot against Sam Alvey, you should be finishing him in round 1, round 2. And winning a close, greasy split decision wasn't exactly great performance. So, I mean, I like Johnny Walker. I'm really not playing him just because he's a huge question mark, to be honest. The improvements that he's making in SVG Ireland right now. But I like Walker round 1.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so definitely a tough one. I've never been on the Ryan Spann train at all either. He's been kind of one of those guys I've just sat back and watched. I've been waiting for my spot to fade Ryan Spann, and in comes Johnny Walker, and I'm like, ooh, this might be the chance. And I kind of talked myself off the ledge a little bit. Even though I do think Johnny Walker is similar to you, Legs, I think he comes out here and sparks him in the first round. Ultimately, just because Ryan Spann's extremely stationary. Obviously, he does have some wrestling and grappling components, but against a guy who's relatively stationary, who I don't think closes distance particularly well, against a big explosive guy like Johnny Walker, I just think it's nightmares for Ryan Spann, and that first L he's about to suffer in a while is coming on Saturday. But then again, at the same time, I'm also not going to run to the window to bet Johnny Walker straight here, at least because there's nothing that he's shown me, at least in terms of tape and historics, that he's improved his grappling in any stretch of the imagination. So if you're betting Johnny Walker straight, I'm sorry, you're throwing up a complete Hail Mary here and saying, oh, I hope he's not going to get wrestled to death for 3 rounds. That's literally what you're doing, because there's nothing that indicates it's improved. Maybe it has, but there's nothing to say that it necessarily has either. So the one play I'm
Walker,
really
you're playing KO.
Exactly. But my thing is, I think a play that's really interesting here is also the under 1.5. Johnny Walker's striking defense is not good either. I think he only defends strikes at like 30% or something like that. We've seen him hurt and we've seen him wobbled. He's a little loosey-goosey with his striking. Ryan Spann hits pretty hard. Like I said, I'm not super high on the guy, but the dude can crack too. So if these guys come out here and clash horns, 2 big 205ers, I can see this one hitting under 1.5 at a decent clip. So it's another spot where I'm kind of sitting back on. I kind of would like to see if I can get a little bit better price. Maybe I'm being a little greedy. This is probably one I will end up playing small for a unit or unit and a half. But I guess my one hesitation is that Ryan Spann just comes out here and dives on his legs, and then Johnny hasn't improved it, and I look like a complete idiot. So I guess that's my one hesitation. But I think someone's going to sleep, and it's probably Ryan Spann.
So let me tell you guys something. So Johnny Walker left his first coach he came to the UFC with, blamed his coach for all of his problems and his manager. He went to TriStar. He left there after one fight, blamed them all. You know he's going to try to find a way to blame Conor McGregor after if he loses this fight and leaves. And we
get a super fight.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, like I think Johnny Walker sucks. I also think Ryan Spann sucks, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
Like the amount of money I dumped into the Walker bonfire between was fading Johnny Walker. I did make some of it back on Corey Anderson, but
that's right.
But honestly, though, the problem is, so like I looked at the fight, like I think Spann's got cleaner striking. I think he's a better grappler. I think he's got some submission upside. The problem is, one, he's hilariously hittable. It's ridiculous. Like they both are, to be honest. They both have no striking defense whatsoever. 2, I mean, Spann gassed the fuck out against Sam Alvey, and like Sam Alvey is not exactly pushing a blistering pace on you. So it's like if Spann takes him down and like doesn't finish him inside a round and they grapple for 5 minutes, we're probably going to see 2 gigantic light heavyweights gassed out like 2 265-pounders just swinging for the fences.
It's going to look like that Enrique De Silva fight, Johnny Walker on the Contender Series, them just falling all over each other.
Right. And so like Spann probably has like a better process than Walker, but I also think whatever else you say about Johnny Walker, the guy is dynamic. I think we can say that like definitively, like, he is, and he does have like, real power. And so it's really like, can Spann, grapple him out and finish him on the ground earlier? Maybe. If not, though, I sort of lean Walker. I sort of think the line's right. I do think plus 850 on Spann submission is kind of interesting. And I think the plus 320 Walker 1 is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. It went back up to plus 330 now, the round 1.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, yeah.
I'll probably stab that. Like, I think there's a couple interesting props. I wonder what doesn't start round 2 is. It's probably a decent price. Like, you have in front of you?
Yeah, I got it on me right now. Give me 1 second.
Like plus 150 maybe?
So we got doesn't start round 2 at plus 134.
Yeah,
it's not great.
And then not to start round 3 minus 196. So
yeah, not the best. All right.
I think to be honest, like on this card, and I'll touch on it obviously in the next fight. I think there's a lot of value on the under 1.5s on this card. I think there's a ton. Yeah. There's I think at least 4 spots at least that I was looking into personally, but I don't.
It should be a finish happy card, that's for sure, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move on. You did this fight, right, Lugs? I think I touched you here. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will move on, and I'll start with you again. We have the GOAT, Khamzat Chimaev, taking on GM3.
So I'll slow the brakes a little bit. I don't think that we should be rushing him as fast as it is. I think this 2 fights booked in a row is kind of insane. It's never really been done before. At the same time, I think that GM3's weakness here is his takedown defense, and I think Khamzat can exploit that. Now, is he going to get swept at all by GM3 while he's on the ground? I don't really know. I'm inclined to say no, but we haven't seen enough of that, to be honest. So I think, honestly, that Khamzat comes out here and is able to finish him early. And if not, if he, doesn't mind his P's and Q's on the ground, I think that GM3 could find us up here. So I played the under 1.5 at minus 125.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, no play for me here. I was kind of thinking about a hedge. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but the Chimaev KO and Meerschaert sub, I thought that was kind
Chimaev, sorry, I was looking at that earlier too, and I know with the Chimaev line, the Chimaev KO is plus 200, and then the Meerschaert by sub is plus 750.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of an interesting little degen hedge, maybe, but
that's not.
Yeah, Meerschaert's a tricky guy. Once again, like any time one of these guys comes in who's just like overly hyped, overly processed by the UFC, we see it time and time and again. Like, I mean, sometimes it pans out, but a lot of times it just burns up in flames. So it's all about, it's all about it's about finding the certain spots where you can fade that guy and just get a crazy number. So it's really, you have to answer or ask yourself the question, is this the spot? I'm not necessarily convinced, to be honest. I think Chimaev just absolutely pounds Meerschaert out on the ground. But then again, we haven't really seen him against anybody with any sort of jiu-jitsu acumen. So Meerschaert's a really crafty guy. I talk about this all the time in terms of like, you have your traditional BJJ guys, and then you have like your more crafty, opportunistic BJJ guys. GM3 is one of those opportunistic, crafty guys where if you just make really, really small mistakes against, he's got really crafty chokes. So, he overextends on ground and pound, makes small positional mistakes. He gets swept. Maybe there's something there. I don't see it though. I think he's positionally sound enough on the ground to not make that happen. And GM3 isn't exactly known for the greatest striking defense, at least on the feet. Or on the ground. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Chimaev knocked him out on the feet either. Not that he's this world-class striker necessarily, but ultimately, I think I like GM3, Wisconsin guy, got to rep Wisconsin, but I think the angry Chechen runs through him. But last time I said that about an angry Chechen, he stood in the middle of the cage for 15 minutes, so we'll see.
All right, boys and girls, well, sit around the campfire for a second. Let me tell you guys a story here. So I went back to 2018. Khamzat's 4th fight in a professional fight in Brave CF. Horrible organization. He finished a guy named Sidney Wheeler in about 35 seconds. Now, why is this relevant, you may ask yourself? Well, once upon a time, Sidney Wheeler was also considered to be the next big thing. And he was finished in 91 seconds by none other than Gerald Meerschaert. Now, why do I bring that up? Because it has no pertinence to this fight. But I bring it up because, number one, the quality of competition that Khamzat's faced has been horrible. Number two, he has all of his hype because he wiped out John Phillips and Reese McKee. Stick Gerald Meerschaert in the octagon with John Phillips and Reese McKee, and if he wants, both of those fights are going to be over inside a round. I'm not kidding. If Gerald Meerschaert's first 2 UFC fights were John Phillips and Reese McKee, he'd probably be getting hyped as a future champion. Like, it's 1 + 1 = 2. Like, I don't understand like why this is so fucking hard for people to wrap their heads around here. Like, it is honestly crazy the takes that I have seen about this guy. I'm not saying maybe he is a future champion. Like, that's possible. But the guy has beaten literally nobody. He's only gone past the first round 1 time in his career. And he's fighting John Phillips and Reese McKee, 2 guys who can't grapple. Like, this is just – it's just crazy to me. Like, the fact that he opened -500 in this spot is complete and utter insanity. Like, GM3, I don't think has ever gone off his more. I put it up on my Twitter on ever more like +190 in his career, and he opened +425 here. Like, that is fucking nuts. Like, maybe he does have the top game of Jack Hermanson, but there's no way. There is no way that Jack Hermanson, and we can know that his top game is that good after these 2 fights. There is no way. Like, the only guys who've really wiped out GM3 outside of the Heinisch knockout are Hermanson and Thiago Santos. Are we really ready to say that, like, Khamzat's on that level? Like, perhaps he is, but it's like one of those fights where people get over their skis, just like with Edmund. Obviously, it's a different variation, but you see this all the time. Like, you know, look, there's a decent argument for Khamzat being a decent favorite here because GM3 doesn't really stop takedowns and Khamzat attempts takedowns. But the fact of the matter is, you know, GM3 sweeps just about everybody he fights. Even in the Hermanson fight, he swept him first before he got re-reversed and finished. But, like, we know next to nothing about Khamzat. We know he looks good. We don't know what his cardio is like at all, number one. We don't know what will happen the first time he ends up with someone in his back or in a bad position, number two. We don't know what his striking's like. You know, what if, you know, he just ends up deciding to strike with Hermanson? We don't know. And then, you know, Khamzat's probably more of an 170-pounder. That's probably where he's going to be long-term. And let's keep in mind his last fight against McKee was against a 155-pounder. McKee is 155 pounds. It's where he normally fights. GM3 was prepping for a fight at 205 last month. There is a pretty big difference in the size there. Plus, the guy's been breaking pickaxes with his bare hands. I don't know if you guys saw him on Twitter.
I have not.
There's a great game out there called The Witcher. The guy named Geralt of Rivia sounds a lot like Gerald slaying monsters. They're going to be calling GM3 the fucking Witcher after he takes the goddamn monster's head this weekend. So, yeah.
I just saw the Booger Beard video, and he was talking about The Witcher.
That was hilarious.
I'm so angry about that because I've been prepping this for literally a week, but
that's funny.
Stole your thunder, John.
Whatever. But yeah, I have one unit on GM3 plus 360. This line is absurd. I don't even care how it ends. Pretty much the range of outcomes here is so wide. Like, there is a world where GM3 could possibly be a true favorite by the true line, or he could be plus 400. But there's basically nothing in Khamzat's tape to basically give any credence to the line where it is now. Now, maybe he comes out and absolutely pounds him, and that's fine. Like Magic said, it's definitely fine. That's fine. Maybe he does. Then we'll learn something about him. But I'm happy to take the stab.
In fairness, real quick, John, once again, I'm not saying this guy's a future world champion by any means. I did not lay minus 450 on Chimaev at all. I just think he kills Meerschaert. I'm just saying.
To be honest, I'm on the under. I'm on the under. So if GM3 wins, that'll be fine too.
I am going to burn MMA Twitter to the ground like Drogon on King's Landing after.
Get your gifts ready, John.
Yeah. Anyway, we come up to the co-main, and this is a fun one, and it's a shame because I don't know what happened with C. He said sorry, I had to abruptly leave. I don't know what happened, but he was on Nico Price. I know he liked Nico KO1. I don't know if he played the money line at all, but we got Nico Price, we got Cowboy Cerrone. Lags, got a player?
No, I don't. And similar to another fight earlier in the card, it's just like the line's a little weird, and I'm not really getting a ton of value where the round 1 KO was looking at. I really just don't trust Cowboy's durability at this stage of his career. The only thing that's kind of giving me pause on the money line would be that I don't really know if Nico can win a decision here. Not that I'm saying that it's going to, but I don't really think that that's really a smart play here. I think if you're playing Nico, you play him by KO, and honestly, I'll probably end up on Nico KO. Because to be honest, the only people that have beaten Nico are the people that have knocked him out, and those guys have insane power. Vicente Luque, Rizal Al-Hassan, and Jeff Neal. And I really don't rate 2020 Donald Cerrone at the same power as those guys. So I think that The KO line is nice at plus 110, plus 120, and the round one plus 300 I think is it's kind of nice too. But yeah, I kind of think Donald goes to sleep and rides off into the sunset with an L, sadly.
Luke, how about you?
Yeah, so I haven't put out my 3-knot for me yet, but it will be out very shortly. This one will be a fight in there. Honestly, I think this is a trap fight. I think everybody is coming in here.
That's how the line is, I think. Yeah.
And I get it. Like, the narrative makes complete sense that Cowboy's probably done. He hasn't really had a great performance in years. Nico hits hard. Cerrone's durability is a question. But Nico Price isn't exactly a striking defense savant either. Honestly, I think Donald Cerrone can probably just kick this dude in the face and knock him out too. I'm not saying that's like overtly likely. I'm not saying that I'm backing Donald Cerrone with my money by any means, but I think people are a little too high I should say a little too eager to bet Nico Price in the spot. Listen, I think Nico Price probably knocks him out too, but it feels like one of these like really pushy public type spots where just everybody's on Nico Price is going to knock him out. Nico Price is going to knock him out. It just feels like that situation where it just might go the other direction. Nico Price is a guy I like who's super cool. Even retweeted one of my fucking contest things I did, and it got like 200 retweets. Thank you, Nico. But yeah, like I said, dude, the guy's just defensively flawed on the feet. And I think a lot of people also still now downplay based on the fact of Cowboy's durability that like somehow he just like can't strike now. Now he's not like overtly high volume, and there's still questions about him letting his hands go at times, but still super accurate in his shots. And we've just seen Nico hurt a lot. So I think people should just pump the brakes on the Nico Price play, at least straight. I think if you're going to play this fight, I would play the Nico KO prop. Maybe he outworks Cowboy. I can see that too. But I mean, my big thing is if Nico is really having that amount of success in this fight to win over 15 minutes, I feel like he finds Cowboy's chin within 15 minutes. Like I don't know. Yeah. That's just me.
I agree.
But
I thought it was kind of interesting. Sorry to interrupt real quick. MMA by the numbers tweet out earlier today that Nico Price ranks 503rd out of 530 qualifying fighters in UFC history for overall striking efficiency. If that adds anything to it. I really, like you said, I don't really think that he is like, I don't think he's that sound on the feet, to be honest with you. But I just think that Donald's not going to be able to find that kill shot early enough in the fight.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, my general thinking is here, I kind of came into it sort of thinking about a play on Price in this spot. And like, so I think Cerrone is pretty much washed, to be honest. Like I do. Like I think getting outlanded by Pettis at range in 2020 is a pretty horrible look. Like nobody gets outlanded like that. And he just seemed kind of wooden. His durability is clearly going. And so like I was pretty sure I was going to play Price, but I kept looking, and then like, I don't know, man. Like Luke, to your point, the whole 3-knot for me angle, man. Like you see some of these angles on like Price, and like you see him wrestle with Jeff Neal, and Jeff Neal looks like Khabib against him. Like Jeff Neal's not even really a grappler. Like the guy on his back, Tim Means takes him down and makes him look like a fool on his back. The guy really, it's just like if Cerrone came out and attempted 6 to 8 takedowns, he literally has like a minus 200 win condition here. Like and that's something where it's like I can't lay juice with somebody against that. And even on the feet, it's like if Cerrone, I don't know, man. If they exchange for a while, I kind of think Cerrone's going to sleep. But if he doesn't, like if Price doesn't put him out, he's probably going to win minutes. And that's kind of the concern for me. It's like I think Price should be favored because I do think we've reached the point with Cowboy where he cannot take a shot anymore. But I just don't think he's, at all trustworthy. So, it is what it is. Quinn, do you want to chime in, Price Cerrone? No,
that's a no. Yeah. Ultimately, I kind of think that just flipping the fade to a dog line at his most viable win condition. I just think I don't really hate the play, to be honest. I'm probably just gonna play for a unit.
The thing is,
sorry, can I jump in on the? Are we still talking Price Cerrone?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry.
good.
I got the time zones completely mixed up. Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested in Cerrone sub at plus plus 550 now. I think there's definitely some value on that line. He's a much better grappler than Price is as well. But I also really, really do like the Price KO prop. I'm going to be on that as well. And I do expect some money Cowboy here because, he's, even though he has known of his durability issues in the past, he's still a fan favorite. So I do expect some late money to come in on him. So I'm going to wait and probably hit his money line as well. But yeah, I didn't really have any interest in actually playing Cowboy at all until I saw that sub prop. So I'm definitely going to be playing that as well.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I think Price is like super subbable, to be honest. Like he's looked real bad on his back. I just don't like the KO line very much, to be honest. Like I was thinking maybe they misprice it to like plus 500, but like plus 300 KO1, is that really like that great value? Like I don't know.
That's my thing for the KO prop in general. I'm not going to play the round one. I'm just going to play the KO in general because, like I said, I think all of his wins come by KO for the most part.
Yeah,
and
the KO
obviously
prop.
We've seen the durability of Cowboy. I got plus 110. It's not great, but I honestly, like I said, instead of getting the money line at minus 160, minus 150, I think it's the best way to go about it if you're betting Nico.
Quinn, before we touch the main, do you want to just give out your bets for the card?
Yeah, sure. So I so far have one unit on Randa Marcos at plus 140. What she had talked about today in her interviews actually gave me even more confidence, and I do like your small hit on her decision line. Yeah, if she fights smart, I really just think this is her fight to win here. I mean, she has the better hands than Dern. She has the much better striking. Dern's wrestling is absolutely awful. It's never really been good at all. I just don't really trust Dern to actually be able to get the fight to the mat if Marcos actually fights smart here and stays out of the clinch. So yeah, I kind of got in a little late. I kind of wish I would have gotten in at plus 160, but I did like the plus 140 dog money that I'm getting on her. Just another pure Dern fade. I also am going to be probably hitting a Holland sub prop. I think it's down to plus 550 now. Stewart has been subbed, I think, twice in the UFC.
Yeah.
And, I think this is going to be a scrambly fight, Holland, he's just so unpredictable with it, and Stewart's been training that wrestling. So I definitely think that the plus 550 sub prop is live. I don't really know what Holland's KO prop is either. And I'm thinking about also parlaying Holland straight with someone from the card next week. I haven't really decided what I want to do with that yet, but I think it's a lock for Holland here. I really think he's just a pretty bad matchup for Stewart in general. And I'm gonna hit a couple of Laramie props. I really think that Minner is pretty much like round one sub or bust. I haven't exactly looked at it yet, but I definitely like Laramie there. And also who is Newsom. I like Newsom here. I'm probably going to hit him straight. I just kind of want to see if I can get a little bit better on the money line here, just because it seems like a lot of people are on Costa, kind of like Minner. Costa's pretty much, in my opinion, round one KO or bust. I mean, he doesn't really have the gas tank to go past 6 minutes, and he's a really, really poor grappler. And Newsom, he trains out of Impact Jiu-Jitsu in Portland, and he's a pretty solid brown belt. I mean, he's much better on the mat than Costa is. I mean, Davis is a purple belt on Jiu-Jitsu, and after Costa gassed like early in the second round, Davis was able to get his back and submit him pretty damn quickly. And so if he's able to do that, I definitely have interest in Newsom sub. I think it's plus 580 right now or something like that. I need to look. But yeah, those are my bets for right now.
All right. So we go to the main event of the evening. We got Colby Covington and we have Tyron Woodley. Lags, you want to start us here?
Yeah, so Colby Covington rounds out my 3-unit parlay from a few weeks ago with Alexander Rakic at minus 107. So, I mean, pretty much everybody's going to give you the same take this week, I think, to be honest. Woodley's shot. He's been wrestle fucked, grapple fucked by the past two guys with in Usman and Burns. And I think Colby's just going to do a similar thing here. I think the only thing that Colby really needs to do is just mind his P's and Q's in space with Woodley, because I know he's talking about, letting his hands go. He's training with Jorge Masvidal now, but he's talked about letting his hands go past a couple fights. So I'm really not buying into it. We talked about it a lot. I think it's time to fade Woodley. And I think Colby decision minus 130 is kind of insane. And I know they still have the Woodley KO line at plus 500. So I think if you play both of those, I think it's an easy way to hedge out on a big Colby decision win.
Luke, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of similar to Lags. I guess I don't want to sit there and give the same take as everybody, because
there. Yeah.
No.
I think ultimately the fight's pretty.
I'll give a mildly different take. I think so. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I you touched on, I agree
with Gagabi here. I think that the early rounds are going to be where Colby's going to be like in most danger, I guess we would say. I agree with that.
Yeah, but I guess if Usman just stands there though for the first 2 rounds and Colby just even punches air, he probably still. Or what? Oh
Woodley.
Wait, what is?
You said Usman.
You said Usman.
My bad.
I know. No, I know what you meant.
Yeah. So ultimately, I'm actually I ended up going with a hedge here. I played the Usman KO prop. I think at like plus 500.
Woodley KO prop.
Jesus Christ, they're two big black dudes. I don't know.
Sorry.
The Woodley KO prop and the Covington decision line at minus 130. Ultimately, based on where I put it, it was like a little over. I think it was like a little over 2.5 units and like 0.56 on the KO and Woodley, and that came out to roughly a unit of profit. So really not that much risk, in my opinion, for what's honestly the most likely outcome for both guys. I'm not normally someone who's going to hedge necessarily, but when you can hedge for relatively low risk with two of the most pretty much clear-cut day outcomes for a unit of profit, I had to jump on it. Once again, if Woodley comes out here and is a completely different fighter, is super aggressive, lets his hands go, and comes in here and just starches Colby that way, then, well, I guess also then my hedge works and cashes. But then again, it's kind of another one of those fights where I also don't really hate anybody who's firing on Colby heavy on that decision line around even money. I think there is a lot of value there. I'm just kind of playing it safe. To be honest, it's one of those situations. There's just nothing to suggest that Woodley's going to come out here and do anything differently than he's done in the last 3 years. If he does, that sucks as better, because, as much as we like to think we're Nostradamus and we can predict everything, not always. Some guys come out here and put on uncharacteristic performances, but it's one of those situations where, Colby should put the pressure on and outwork him over the course of 25 minutes. Even if you go back to that Usman fight with how competitive that was, I mean, Usman hit him with some serious shots, and it took nearly 25 minutes for him to get knocked out too. So obviously the question is, Woodley's more so of a burst guy. It's that one big explosive shot. I get that. I'm just saying that Colby's shown that the dude can also take a shot too. So like I said, playing one a little bit more safe with a hedge to hopefully secure a unit of profit, assuming no random bullshit trickery.
Yeah. Quinn, how about you?
I don't know what I'm going to do with this fight, to be honest with you. I was going to do the hedge, what Luke said, just because I think that's like the most like realistic outcome. Like I just don't really see Woodley changing his style at all. That he's had throughout his whole entire career, and that is like just wait and be patient and kind of land the kill shot, but like people are making good points, with Colby. He's not the best striker. He really relies on his precision and his volume to overwhelm people, and he could definitely do that to Woodley. That's for sure. I mean, Woodley has not looked good like his last 3 fights, but Colby is also extremely hittable. We've seen that his striking defense isn't good, and that really scares me. So I don't hate on anyone taking that almost even money line on Colby, but like the Woodley KO prop is, or inside the distance, even at plus 450. I could see him knocking Colby down and jumping on a sub as well. I could see both the situations. So I haven't really decided like what I'm going to do with it. I definitely favor Colby though. I do think that Woodley is pretty shot. This is like one of the more better matchups for him, just because I don't know if Colby is going to be able to like actually like have significant amounts of top time against Woodley. Woodley's still a pretty solid wrestler, but I definitely favor Woodley here, 100%. I also just think
you mean Covington?
Yeah, geez,
we're all fucking up tonight.
Yeah,
I was
Covington.
like, you now.
Yeah, Covington. And I was kind of waiting for props for like the whole entire card. They didn't come out till like a couple of hours ago, and now I'm seeing like a bunch of props that I like, and I just and so I might just honestly just stay away from this fight and just like enjoy watching it. Who knows? Depends on how many beers I have. But so far I don't really have anything on it. But I do think Colby wins a decision, and if he wins a decision, it's going to be dominant, in my opinion. So Colby decision is the pick for me.
Yeah. So let's get the first thing out of the way here. If this goes to a decision, Covington's going to probably win this at a better than 90% clip here. Like I think that's probably
definitely.
I think that's realistic. So the question is really, what is the likelihood of a Woodley KO? Or him, hurting him multiple times. I think Woodley winning a decision would be pretty tough, to be honest. But, I have that same on-track parlay you had, Lags, with Covington and Rakic, with Covington minus 255. And I kind of played it blind. And, I'm not saying I lean Woodley necessarily on the money line, but my feeling, I'm going to probably do what Luke did, take some Covington decision and some Woodley KO. Because kind of to Quinn's point, Covington is very hittable. And, I've said this in our group chat. If Covington blankets him and really can avoid spending any time and space, he probably looks about minus 400 a year. The thing is, the question is, one, can he do that? Because Woodley's a strong guy. But number two, we've seen him have extended striking exchanges in all of his most recent fights. And if he gets into extended striking exchanges with Woodley, I expect him to win striking exchanges, mostly just because, even before Woodley was old, Woodley was never someone to let his hands go. The problem is Covington is super hittable at distance. At distance, I think he's almost getting hit at a 50% clip. It's really bad. And it's possible he's super durable, but we really don't totally know that. And so I actually do think there's a lot of value on the Woodley KO line. I kind of think his KO chances are maybe being underrated a bit because of how bad he looked against Burns. On the other hand, I thought his timing was really off in that fight, and it's possible that he just doesn't have the timing anymore to set those counters up. But just one thing to kind of just throw out there, throw some oil on the fire. Woodley has 10 knockdowns in 15 career fights. Just kind of another statistic here, and it's this is not gospel, but it's a fact. 84% of fights that where a fighter gets a knockdown, they win. Now, that's largely because a lot of KOs, and Woodley gets a lot of KOs. Woodley is kind of, in some respects, obviously not as powerful.
What was I'm sorry, John, what was the percentage on that?
84% of fighters who land a knockdown win their fight.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. But, obviously a lot of that, I'm sure that's probably
KO.
55% is probably KOs, to be honest. But
how much percent are club and subs?
Yeah. The point here is really more Woodley's game is pretty akin to Francis. He doesn't have the same kind of power that Francis does, I don't think, but I also think he's got a little better technique. Well, he obviously doesn't have the same kind of power, but he's got real power. It's not the power he has is very real. He has elite power.
I definitely agree with you and say that it is underrated. I think it can be in the spot. So I'll give you that.
So I'm a bit scared of just letting the money I have on it ride, to be honest. I'm gonna hedge some Woodley KO here for sure. I might add some Covington decision as well. But yeah, I think it's an interesting dynamic because I do think Covington should pretty much win every single minute until he gets clipped. But he may just be able to weather the punches too. And if he can weather the punches, then he's just going to eat him alive. But it's going to be a fun fight. I'm excited for it.
It's a sweet card. The whole card's awesome for a fight night.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's honestly, probably better than the pay-per-view the following week, to be honest with you. Outside of obviously the main card, the pay-per-view is incredible. But,
right.
Top to bottom.
So how many pullouts are we going to get now?
All right, we taking bets. We taking bets on what fight's going to be the pullout.
I'm saying two more.
Yeah,
I'm going to say. Oh, you're saying two? I was going to say what fight. What fight? Name what fight is going to pull out right now.
You know what fight it's going to be.
I'm going to say it's the Nam and Rivera.
Okay.
Dern and Marcos.
I'm saying Rose Clark Alpar.
It's definitely going to be Chimaev and Meerschaert because then.
All right, somebody write this shit down.
I'm going to have to yell at Magic and everybody else for another 3 months until that fight gets rebooked. That's what's going to happen. Me and Miller are going to be going at it on Twitter for the next 6 months until Khamzat fights Meerschaert. That's
and your Magic.
Anyway, thanks for coming out tonight, guys. It was a fun time. We'll be back next Wednesday. We're going to be breaking down, what is that, UFC 253, I believe?
Yep.
And I'll be on
Skinny.
time.
Skinny retains the belt.
I'll tell you this, guys.
Skinny
There's going to be a couple
whooped.
titles that change hands the next couple months. The first one's this next weekend, and Justin Gage is putting Khabib to sleep. But we'll get to that in October. But anyway, as usual, I'm your host, John Stargarian, MMA. You can find me on Twitter at MMA Fox, Flags at Lags_the Capper, Luke at SWR_betting, and Quinn at Orthodox 1993, and see who. I don't know where he went.
Got arrested, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. So you can follow C.
Hopefully not.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.